on its core music business. Now, of course, YG stated in order to concentrate on their primary field of music, they are undertaking a business structure reorganization, which includes ceasing actor management services. So the YG Entertainment is actually taking that move. What does this mean? Because I'm trying to see, South Korea actually has one of the most established industries. If you to look into that, I think China also comes in. Of course, the United States of America tops the list, but South Korea has actually been performing quite very interesting. And one of the very selling series that have actually which opened up its gateway. It was way back in 2010, 2011, 2012, I guess, when they released a series known as The Iris. That is one of the series that actually created some sort of a comeback on their side, and they were making quite some huge amounts of money into that. So I'm not surprised if I see a record management, an entertainment company, dropping down some of the artists, and they say that they're now heading into uh, the music business into that. All right, now YG Entertainment has announced on Friday its decision to exit the actor management, and the company previously managed prominent actors such as Sha Seung, there is Won, there is Choi Ji-woo. These are Korean names, really. It's quite very interesting. Now, as part of its gradual restructuring efforts, YG sold its stake in Studioplex, a subsidiary responsible for producing dramas such as Mr. Queen last year. And additionally, in August 2024, YG dissolved its dance management and academy label YGX, integrating that is its functions into a newly established global training center that is within the company. And now for the 2025, YG plans to focus on its music ventures, that is including a highly anticipated comeback for the girl group, that is the Blackpink, and launching the Baby Monsters debut world tour. Now, YG commented that they have consistently worked on restructuring to focus on their core operations, and 2025 will actually mark the beginning of those efforts. That is coming to fruition, like to see the fruits of that. Now, the company added that they aim to further strengthen their competencies to solidify their leadership in the music industry and write the next chapter of YG's growth story. So now we can see that some of the entertainment companies in South Korea are now diversifying not just about the movies alone, but also the music. And I think they have the ability to break through because their movies have actually not been performing bad. Netflix has produced quite a series of them. I remember there is a movie recently. It's called The Whirlwind. I urge you to watch it because it has a lot of politics, the way they acted it. So they have really some interesting storylines that they're pushing out. And I think they're outbidding China now as we speak. Because I think way back in time when we had Hollywood, then we had, I think China was also among the countries that were producing good movies. Then we had Bollywood, that is in India. And then coming down to which country? Yes, Bollywood, that is in India. And then in Africa, we don't really have a defining music level, and Korea either. But I think they stand quite a huge chance to break through the American market. Now, still to that, we see that Sony Pictures has actually named a new television chair. And in most cases, once these were selling quite huge, and it's focused on local language productions in Latin America. And now Sony is adapting the same strategy that Netflix is actually adapting to, whereby they're planning to have stories that are way outside from the usual stories that we've been watching of the different movies. You know, most of the movies have the storylines based in the United States of America, perhaps China, then Europe. But there are countries that are not represented quite effectively. Now, talking about Latin America, you know, have you ever watched a movie and the entire storyline is based on Brazil? The entire storyline is based on Argentina. So that is what we actually want to see Sony really do, and it's what they're heading for. Now, previously, he served as a distribution lead for Sony Pictures Television, and then Lee Goy joined Sony in 1999 after serving as vice president of European sales at Walt Disney Company. Now, over the last 8 years, the studio has actually become a major independent supplier to streaming services and television networks. Now, its productions include The Boys, one of the movies that is for Prime Video. We have Cobra Kai for Netflix, then The Last of Us for HBO, then Sweat for CBS, then Outlander for Stars, Shark Tank, that is for ABC, and the 90-Day Fiance, that is for TLC. So they are quite moving in that direction. Now, he said that it is a privilege to take the helm of the television group at its transformative, at this transformative time. That's what he said in the industry. Now, Lee Goy said in a statement that thanks to Ravi and the incredible teams, SPET, which is well positioned to lead and build upon our rich legacy in the evolving and dynamic marketplace, and he said that I'm invigorated by the opportunities ahead. That is what he said. Now, Ahuja came to the studio's president and chief executive on January 2nd. Now, he reports to Sony Group Corporation, that is chair and chief executive, that is Kenichiro Yoshida and Hiroki Tokodi. Now, the president and the chief operating officer of the Japanese electronics company, that is who he is, and they are establishing to that. Okay. Now, we see that Meg James, who was a senior entertainment writer for the Los Angeles, was the lead reporter for the coverage of that particular story in line. Okay, now away from that, still as we take a look on what is happening in the world of entertainment. Now, if we shift over to India, because it's one of those industries that have also came out to establish themselves, they're in a tight competition with China, but I'm not quite sure whether they do have yet the best effects, because most times they still have a little bit of a challenge when it comes to putting to make the effects look real. In most cases, you watch a movie and it feels like you're watching a game, into that. Now, emergency box office collection day 5. Now, the Kagana Ranat Stara sees a lot of business on Tuesday, yet beats Assad and the Game Changer. Now, this is an Indian movie. Now, in January, Kangana Ranaut made it to the theaters. It's one of the movies that has actually been trending so much in India. So in January, they made it to the theaters with their solo director, Emergency. Now, of course, chronicling the events that unfolded, that is during one of the most sensitive periods of Indian history. Now, the emergence of the 1957 movie was the talk of the town from the word go. Now, it was initially announced to be released in 2023 after several delays. And we see that on the first day, the movie made a decent opening of about 2.5 million crore. And the following days also saw some bit of growth, if you look at that. So, what am I saying this? When you look at India, it's one of those markets, like I say, that are still getting established. But recently, there was some little bit of partnerships that they were actually trying to get into. Netflix, actually, if you remember, there is a movie, The Monkey Man. Yes, The Monkey Man. has an Indian story, and it was produced by Universal Pictures, and it's a very great action movie to watch out for. But amazingly, there is something that I've read here about a movie that unfolded, and it was about the sensitive times in Indian history way back in 1957. And then I was thinking about, look at how these people are actually being creative, with their music industry. I don't know, for Ugana's case, I think the only movie that we have had that has a basis of history and it's acted by our very own is the 27 Guns. And I feel like it could be remade, to make the graph. Okay, it was okay. I'll give it like a 40% when it comes to the performance. It was okay. But at least I love the idea that somebody could sit down and think about the war that brought the NRM, and they decide to really dramatize it, to make a movie out of it. Who in this country had actually ever had such an idea? I think it was very, very, very creative, transforming, and to me, I feel like it was challenging the rest of the movie producers in Uganda about how to pick storylines, of events that happen. You can act a lot of things. Recently, way back in 2021. I think it was around November, I think so. I think so, around November in 2021, during the campaigns where we saw massive deaths, where Uganda recorded quite a huge record of deaths. I'm thinking, why can't there be a movie about that? Why can't somebody really make something out of that? Then we had instances of the bombings in Lugogo. Then we had the incidents of the bombing just close to Parliamentary Avenue and the CPS. All those are actually good stories that can actually be acted. I'm not saying it's about action or violence or something, but at least if we can relate a topic to something that has ever happened in the country, it makes it much more easy and friendly for people to relate with the movie. Personally, I love to watch the 27 Guns movie because I wanted to have an imagination of what that war was like. Many people, when they hear about that war, they're trying to imagine, and that's the purpose of the movies actually. They give you the picture of what you thought. You'd be thinking about something, you don't know how it happened, but then it's somehow happening. So you have to really figure out in your head. So to avoid too much, me as the movie producer, I come up with an idea with facts. Of course, you don't just act. Of course, some little added entertainment to make it entertaining. And then you make something quite amazing, which the public will actually embrace. And that is something that I feel like some Ugandan producers haven't yet adapted to. We're trying to copy a lot of stuff in terms of the story. Because it's okay, let's act in English, but let's have our own stories that describe us, that we relate to. Because English is a global language, you can't fight that. And if you say you want to bring another language to dominate, now we're talking about a decade or centuries that, to make that a reality. But we need to put some originality to our movie storylines, because most storylines actually about they are more of love stories. I've actually come to realize it. This is something I'm realizing, because we think a movie, if it doesn't have some sort of love-related aspect, it won't sell. But that is a wrong mentality. It's a very wrong mentality. It has to be really on point. It should be relatable. That when I see the movie, I relate with that. Recently, when we had The Girl in the Yellow Jumper, one of the only movies that has you get a movie that has actually featured on Netflix, at least there was a story, because such things are actually happening. There are a lot of things that are happening in this country that we really don't know about. Though, of course, you need to be very careful as you're putting into action. Well, let me go for a short break for just about 2 minutes, and I'm going to be returning as we take a look at what's happening in Hollywood.